Hello, everyone, and welcome to Catholic Truth Family, where we talk all about dating, relationships, engagement, love, marriage, kids, life, and more. And today we are going to be talking about the top 5 things that really we love and hate about kids, if you can even say it that way. Perhaps the best and worst things, or the best and most challenging things about having children. I mean, they bring you the most greatest joys in life, and they bring you some of the greatest difficulties in life. And so some people wonder, like, what's so difficult, or what's so joyous, and in another episode we'll have one just on marriage, the joys and the difficulties of marriage. But today we're going to be talking about children. Because people tell me, Julie, like, kids stink. Really. I mean, they're just eating.
Literally and figuratively.
Yes. They're eating, sleeping, and pooping machines. They literally just eat you out of house and home. They take your money and then they poop it all out and start over again. And why would anyone ever want to have kids? And a lot of people in the world have this mentality. And unfortunately, they get pets instead, as if pets aren't any less work than kids. They're just as much of a chore. And, yeah, so today we're going to be talking about the joys and the difficulties. Which one do you want to start with first, Julie?
So this was kind of funny as I was reflecting on what brings us joy and what's difficult with kids, because, it's a mixed bag. Everything lined up. So my joys were also my struggles. So every time I thought of a struggle, I was like, but it also works this way. So
I had some of those too.
Right. So I guess the first one I will talk about is opportunity. So having kids has opened up so many opportunities for me. It has changed everything about the course of my life. It's changed every direction. So I'll give you an example. We started homeschooling about 4 years ago. We're going into our 5th year. And I have met some of the most amazing parents. I've learned so much. I mean, homeschooling, I've literally learned with my kids. There's things that I had no idea about. And I'm teaching, an 11-year-old, an 8-year-old, a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old. And I'm learning so much. And it's so fun. So the opportunities having kids has just changed everything for me. But on the flip side, I've had to let go of a lot of opportunities. So I am a baker. I love baking crazy cakes. I do all the big fondant, the crazy quirky cakes. And I've had opportunities to work for certain people. And it's just really hard to say no, but I know it's just not the right time. I've had opportunities. I direct plays. So I've had opportunities to work with high schools. One woman came up to me and asked if I would join her group. And I was so excited and I was so honored, but I had to say no. So on the same wavelength that my kids have allowed our family to have so many great opportunities, it's also taken away a lot of opportunities for me personally.
Yeah, no, that's a fantastic point. And people always say that if marriage doesn't purify you, if your spouse doesn't purify you, your kids will. What did Jesus say? The only way to heaven is through the cross. You don't take the cross, you don't go to heaven. It's pretty blunt. So Jesus is going to get us there. Now, generally, our spouses are like mirrors to us. They hold up our good points and they also hold up our bad, and we see reflections of what we need to work on. Now, it's easy to scoot out of that and just say, leave me alone. I don't want to talk about it, blah, blah, blah. But you can't do that with kids. You have to deal with the issues. You have to deal with things you don't want to deal with. You have to take the good and the bad, and you have to die to yourself, because you can't leave a kid and let him do whatever he wants. So, yeah, especially we had kids a little bit later in life for many different reasons, including health reasons for my wife. And after you get used to living singly for so long, like you're used to the single life, you're used to doing whatever you want, whenever you want, having friends over all the time. And then you have just one kid throws a wrench in that, having 2 destroys it. And you can't do the same things that you used to do. So this would be one of the challenges of having kids, is it does take a readjustment of your life. Your life changes a lot. It doesn't have to change completely. You don't have to throw away everything that you love. You don't have to become a different person. And I think that's a fear that many people have, is I don't want kids because I'm just going to lose everything. Well, my wife and I still make time to go have friends. We still make time to go biking and rollerblading, and we give each other those times. We still go hiking and play mini golf as a family. We do salsa dancing. I just went salsa dancing like 3 times last week, because we give each other time to do that. And so you don't always lose everything that you love to do. It just becomes more challenging, and you just can't do it as often or whenever you want to, but you still can do it. But And it's a wonderful thing when your children can start sharing in those hobbies that you love too, and sharing in those joys and start playing games with you and that sort of thing.
Yeah. And I think the opportunities change a little bit. It's a lot of people will be like, oh, well, that's too hard. I don't want change. I don't want things to be different. But with change,
Don't get
everything.
married.
Yeah, sorry, don't get married, don't have kids if you don't want change. But it really, like, things have just opened up for our family. Recently, I was asked, so even though I had to say no to some things, new opportunities opened up. So our homeschool group, we have 100 kids in our homeschool group.
Wow.
And even more, actually. This is just our drama club. So our homeschool group is even bigger. But our drama club, this past musical we did, had 100 kids involved. It was insane.
Wow.
So this next fall, I was asked to direct the high school drama. And I'm like, see, God provides. God knows the desires. God knows, my charisms. He knows he gave me my charisms. And here he is providing this beautiful opportunity so I can do this. And had I not joined this homeschool group and done this with my kids, I never would have had this opportunity. So even though my opportunities are changing, it's all for the better. And it's exactly where God wants me to be. So there's so much peace involved in that as well. And
Amen.
yeah.
So I think that's one of the joys and challenges of marriage and kids is that, yeah, you do lose stuff, and that's hard sometimes to rearrange your life. Your life is not your own anymore, but that's what love is. It's literally, love is giving yourself away for the benefit of another person, your spouse. You literally give your I, in a sense, to them, and they give theirs to you. And it's an exchange of self. It's a communion of interpersonal love and relationship. And that is death to self. Lust and selfishness are the opposites of lust. The opposites of love. Love is
Right.
giving of yourself. Lust is taking, and selfishness is too. So those don't belong in heaven. We need to purify those from our heart and from our lives. And so that's what marriage is designed to do. I mean, life in general is, but I think marriage is one of the more difficult vocations because there are more sacrifices, and you can't just do whatever you want, say, like in the single vocation, or even in some of the religious orders where, I mean, I could be wrong. I'm not one of them, but it doesn't seem as taxing or strenuous in the same way.
Right. And one of the next points that you made that goes along with one of the things I thought about was my time. So one of the things was opportunity. There's goods and the bads, but the second one is time. Just like you said, Bryan, it's no longer my time. And so that can get really frustrating. I am not a morning person. So I like to take my time in the morning, drink my coffee, read my Bible. I like to have that. And there's times that's not going to happen. Like it's like 6:30 in the morning. Let's get going. And it's a struggle to let go of that. It's a struggle to say, I just need a break. And you do need those breaks. Like you said, you go salsa dancing, you make sure there is time for yourself, because otherwise you're just going to deplete yourself. You're going to just be empty, and then you'll have nothing to give to your children. So time is one of those things that is funny because it's no longer my time, and it's hard for me to let go of that. However, it keeps me from being selfish, just like you said, Bryan. I'm reading a book by Fulton Sheen. I think it's called The Way to Happiness. I meant to bring it with me.
Oh, yes, yes.
But it's amazing. And he says that it says the root of all unhappiness is selfishness and egotism. So selfishness is an easy thing for me. I love my time. I love just sitting and reading or looking at YouTube. I think
that's for most people.
I love my time, right? But the kids keep you from.
What did you do then, Julie? You just went and had 5 kids. You're like, I hate my time. I'm just going to go have 5 kids, so I have none.
I have no time. I'm literally like this morning, it was like, pack the lunches, get in the car, drive the kids to camp. But again, it really does keep me from being completely selfish, because it's a natural tendency of mine to be lazy and want my space, my time, and kids just rip that from me in the best of ways.
Let me jump in on that, because I agree with you. I was thinking of one of the same things when I was thinking about this topic. I mean, one of the greatest joys you will ever have in having kids is being able to have that time with them, especially when they're young. Like one of my favorite, like just growing up, my daughters, when they fell asleep on my chest and their mouths are open and they're just completely passed out, and you're laying back on the couch and they're asleep on their couch, and they look like little angels. There's nothing better in this world than just having the purest, cutest, most innocent little angel on your chest, passed out because she totally trusts you and she's totally dependent on you, and you just hug them and snuggle them. And I love that time. And there's not enough time in the world for all of that goodness that is given to you in marriage, that wonderful time, even up to like 2 years old, 3 years old, they're still cuddling with you, falling asleep on you. And even around 5 p.m., my wife comes home from work around 6 and I'm feeding the baby on the couch and my other daughter wants to snuggle. So she's laying on me on one end, the other is laying on me both. And sometimes I put the couch back and my wife walks in. And so both of my girls are like on my chest and I'm snuggling and hugging them both. And it's just the best thing in the whole world. So there's tons of different times like that. I love playing games with them and spending time doing that. We'll come back to that in another one, but so time is good, but at the same time, I'm the same as you. I, for 20 years, have woken up in the morning. The first thing I do is pray for an hour after breakfast. I love praying, giving all my time to Christ, getting ready for the day, getting prepared, and doing anything I need to do. Now, my daughter wakes up. She's like, Dad, first thing in the morning, Dad. No, I want to pray. No, Dad, I don't want you to pray. I want to do this. Yes, but I need to pray. No, Dad, I don't want you to pray. And it's like, even if I want to pray, she's going to talk to me the whole time, so I can't. Now, some kids can self-play for a little while so you can have some time. So one of the challenges of being a parent is that you have to learn to be creative. You have to learn, like today, I was listening to the Office of Readings while making my breakfast because I don't get a lot of time to do that now, especially with 2 kids and 2 needy kids, 2 high needs, special needs kids, not special needs, high needs kids who demand your attention. Not all kids demand your attention. And it's much easier for parents who don't have temperaments like that. But many people have kids who just every second they like want your attention. So one of the biggest challenges in marriage is to try to reorganize and restructure your whole entire life so that you can still find time for prayer, good quality time, mind you, find good time for yourself and good time for your partner, your wife, which is all difficult when you have kids who suck up all your time, especially 5 with like insane parents do. It's a challenge, but as you said perfectly, Julie, with those challenges, with every challenge, there's the greatest of beauties as well. There's the greatest of experiences. There's the greatest of memories. There's the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. And each of the lows makes you better. And each of the highs is a great memory.
Yeah. And on that note of prayer, that's actually one of my other ones is prayer, because you don't get that quality prayer time that you used to. It's impossible. Like I'll have my cup of coffee and I'm praying and it's like, this
so
kid needs breakfast, this kid needs this kid, and sometimes it's better than others. Some mornings I wake up and I have a little time before the kids are up, or like you said, I'll have the sleeping baby. I mean, it just adds to prayer. So there's times it's better, but for the most part, my prayer life has definitely changed. I shouldn't do that, but a little bit. But again, the opportunities have changed. So we now realize that we need that time with God. So we have our men's group. They meet Friday mornings before work and they go to adoration. They have community time, just them. And then us girls, we meet on Saturday mornings before the hectic day starts. So it's an opportunity that would probably not have presented itself had not a bunch of parents been like, hey, we need this prayer time. We need this structured prayer time. And it also changes too. One of my greatest joys is nighttime prayer. So every night without fail, we read a book, then we sit down and we do prayer together, and we have our different prayers that we do during the different liturgical seasons. We have Regina Chalorum. So we'll sing different songs with the kids, and we do our different prayers. And watching the kids pray, there's literally nothing better. Seeing a kid sing Latin songs, I mean, there's just nothing more joyous. I cannot get enough of that nighttime prayer. So again, it's changed, but some of it's become better, I think.
Yeah, same with me. Like I can't do an hour in the morning. I can't come home and do a half an hour after I come home from work and then do more before bed. Like I was praying an hour to 2 hours every day. Great. I have a contemplative side to me that's just been obliterated by kids. So I have to figure out how to do that now. And I'm still, even with 2 kids, 3 years into it, I'm still figuring out how I can do that better. Like, so I can't pray for an hour, but I do try to do silent prayer for a little while, maybe 5 or 10 minutes in the morning, or Office of Readings, or I might have my daughter watch the mass with me or even go to mass with me. So, I try to do at least 10 minutes to a half an hour in the morning. And then my wife and I do a rosary in the evening, and I try to do a chaplet and have some quiet time throughout the day. And I mean, instead of getting all the prayer time I want, I try to take all my sufferings, which I'm not very good at, and offer them up to God as prayer. All the things I don't want to do as a parent. Jesus didn't want to go to the cross, but he did. And he offered it as a prayer to the Father. I don't want to do half the things I want to do in marriage, but I offer them up as an act of love to the Father as well. And so, prayer just becomes different. And my wife was scolding me about that. Your prayer's not going to be the same as it always was. You think you're going to have all this time to pray, but it's not going to happen. You're just going to do it differently. I'm like, well, my kids won't shut up when I'm in mass, and I can't even concentrate anymore. I don't even feel like I go to mass because they just won't be quiet. And so it's like, it's useless. I tell my wife, why even go to mass? There's no point. I'm not praying. I'm not doing anything. And it reminds me of like little Saint Therese, who, when she was in the chapel, she was praying and she wanted a perfect prayer time. But this annoying little nun had this annoying little quirk with her mouth and made noise so much that she couldn't concentrate. And every time she went in there, she couldn't concentrate. And it annoyed her so much that it actually ruined her prayer times. And eventually she had to make a prayer, what was known as patience. She would sit there out of love for Christ patiently, even though she couldn't concentrate and get the kind of prayer time she wanted. And that didn't even work, she said. And so she had to make a prayer of love and suffering. And she sat there out of pure suffering, out of love for God. And so I've had to turn my prayer times into that and get what I can out of the mass, try really hard to overcome the distractions, because that's a challenge in a parent's life. We have to try to overcome those distractions. It's too easy to give into them and not try to get the most out of the mass. With that being said, you're not going to get as much as you once did when you go with kids. And, but you get what you can and you offer up the rest, and you try to become a more virtuous person in the process. And hopefully God accepts all your sufferings and, pain.
I feel like too, God watching us and being there with us in the midst of the chaos of mass. I mean, it's chaos. There's just no way around it. When you have kids and you bring them to mass, it's chaos. And I do feel the joy of God just watching, being like, thank you for bringing my children to me. That was how family adoration started, was let the little children come to me. That phrase during adoration one morning at our Saturday morning adoration, it flooded me. It was just, let the little children come to me. And I was like, what do you want me to do with that? And it was very clear between mine and Mike's music ministry that we were to start a family adoration and bring the children to prayer. And it looks, if you ever come, so you go to adoration to most chapels, it's dead silent. There's like, you could hear a pin drop, and you can hear everyone's like gulps and like little movements. You come to our adoration, we have Mike and I are playing music. You have kids screaming in the back, and it's lively. I mean, but Jesus is present. And I think that's how mass is too, is it's not about us. It's about bringing ourselves to him with all that we have, all the mess that we have, and just presenting him with what we have and say, God, I give this to you. I have no idea what I'm going to get out of this, but I know you're here, and I know you're just going to flood me with your graces. And then you leave, and oftentimes you're like, well, that was interesting. And that's typically how our adorations go too. You're like, Mike and I'll look at each other and be like, okay, all right. I had a kid climbing over my shoulder while I'm singing into the mic, and it's
screaming in my face.
It's all we got.
I was like, Sophia, do you always need to be the kid who's the loudest in the church? Do you need to know that? Do you always need to let everyone know, even the church 3 blocks over, that you're here? I was like, really? You're making us look like those parents. Like, so it's like so frustrating. But at the same time, it is the cutest thing when, when she was 2 years old, I didn't even know she knew the Our Father. She just came out with the entire thing in its entirety. I said, you know the whole Our Father by yourself? What? At 2? I work with high school kids who don't know even 5 words of it. And it's like, and then she knows the Hail Mary, and she knows the Glory Be in 2 different languages. She knows all these prayers. And it's like so beautiful to see kids, like she goes up to communion like this. She'll walk there. And it's just like one of the greatest joys of your life is seeing these kids pray to God so deeply, understand their faith even at a young age. She'll sing. Like the other day, she didn't only sing the Holy, 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 but then she went on to, kept going. Every word that the priest said, she was repeating with him. She's 3 and she knows the mass. And it's just so beautiful to see kids at such young ages. I mean, Jesus said, let the children come to me. It's these that'll inherit the kingdom of heaven. So kids teach us what it's like to be innocent, what it's like to be pure, what it's like to follow Christ. And we need reminders of that. They teach us everything we forget. So yeah, as horrible as they can be sometimes, and as much as they melt down and yell and scream and embarrass you, they also give you great joys, great delights. You pray together, you play games together, board games together, you go sledding together, you watch movies and movie nights together with popcorn and cuddling up. And it's just some of the cutest times. Like my daughter always remembers that time that we went sledding, and she went farther than me. She made it the farthest. And then we made a snowman afterwards. And it's just stuff you never, ever forget. And it's just wonderful time. So there's really great joys and there's really great challenges. Same in marriage. Archbishop Fulton Sheen said there'll be such great highs in marriage. You don't think you could get any higher in this world before heaven. And there'll be such great lows. You'll wonder why you even married the person or if they were even meant for you. That's the nature of life. Nothing is permanent. Everything changes, and only God fulfills. Only God is permanent. Only God gives us that great joy.
Amen. That's exactly right. And the beauty of children and marriage, it takes you outside of yourself. It removes that need to fill yourself, because God does this beautiful thing where now, no matter what, at 3 a.m., whenever it is, at midnight, whenever it is, I have to help this child. I have an obligation, and it goes so far outside of yourself. You do things that you never knew you could do. You have strength that you never knew you
Amen.
had. And it's only going to grow as you and your spouse grow together, as you have more children. It increases and increases. And for anyone out there who's a little bit scared or timid of having kids, there is nothing better. What else do you invest in? You invest in your job, you invest in your house, your car. It's not worth it. You invest everything in your children.
Yeah, my wife was actually afraid of having children. Maybe that's another reason we waited a little bit long. But yeah, she feared it. I think a lot of people fear it. It's supposed to be the worst thing in the world. But now she almost cries because she's like, I wish I didn't wait so long. If I knew it was going to be this wonderful, if I knew that it was going to be this fulfilling, rewarding, happy, then I would have done it a long time ago. Sure, it's challenging. Sure, it's so difficult. But she's like, it's the greatest rewards in the world. I wish, I knew that earlier. She's like, it just fills my heart. She's like, there's no joy on this earth that fills my heart more than my kids. And when you just see us all cuddling and snuggling as a family and all, singing songs together as a family and just doing all these memories, and then paying it forward. What you teach them, they learn. So again, what you said at the beginning of the show is the difficulties and the joys together of marriage. Usually they're both the same. Like my kids so it's so fun to play with kids. I'm a kid. I've never grown up. I'm still a kid, Yeah. And I just have an excuse now to play video games and go sledding and play board games and do all kiddie stuff, play with blocks and Legos and Lincoln Logs. And
Bryan, what's my least favorite? What's my least favorite?
I'm getting there. I am getting there. So I love playing these type of things, and I love learning with them. But then, like my daughter, it just blows me away. I'll come back to that. So they get to these annoying stages though, where they want to play. Daddy, will you play with me? But then it's like, sure, I want to play with you and you have fun playing with your daughter, but then she doesn't want you to stop. And every time you want to stop, they melt down. So you have the best time of your life and then the worst. It's non-negotiable. It's like you bring them to the park, you have the time of your life, you create memories you'll never forget. And then you continue to create memories that you won't forget as you carry them to the car, screaming, yelling, kicking, biting, like whatever else, just going crazy. And you're like, why are you like this? I just gave you the funnest time and you can't just go home and leave like a normal person. Or teaching them, oh, now we're in the stage of why, Daddy? Well, because I said so. But why? Well, because I want you to. But why? And they need actual reasons for everything because I said so doesn't cut it. Right. So I was like, okay, well, we need to leave because if we don't leave, we're going to be late. And if we're going to be late, then they might close the door and we might not get in. And then you won't get to go to the library story hour. Oh, okay, let's go. Like, if you explain it to them many times, they get it, but it's a pain in the neck. We don't feel like explaining things. So why? Literally every time, 3 times a day, Dad, why does it rain? Well, because, the heat draws, condensation up into the air with dirt and dust. But why? Well, because it gets in the clouds. But why? And every day she asks me that. But then 4 days later, when she can repeat the whole condensation process from memory, I'm like, what? I'm like, that's a joy. It's like, it was so annoying. But this girl's learning and I'm teaching her everything she needs to know for the future. And I'm equipping her. And that's such a great joy. Like the other day, she was typing away on a keyboard. She was pretending to work like her mommy and a daddy. she's just learning to read. Like I just taught her to read. She can count to 100. She can count to 120 by herself, and she's 3. That's usually
That's
a 5 to
crazy.
6 year old thing. She can count to 120, probably more if I taught her. She can count to like 30 or 40 in 4 different languages. Like when they learn these things and they show you, you're like the joy you get is like, I can't believe, first, I can't believe you can do this, but like, I'm so proud of you. Even if kids aren't that like gifted, as mine seems to be, like just when they tell you, Daddy, 2 + 2 is 4, you're like, it brings the greatest joy to your heart. Like, so she was typing the other day. I just started teaching her to read like a couple of weeks ago, a few weeks ago, a month ago, maybe. And she wrote out Mom, Dad, Gabriella, and Sophia. She spelled them all. I didn't even know didn't even know she could spell Mom or Dad. She spelled freaking Gabriella. I'm like, what? Like, it was just amazing.
That's crazy. That's incredible.
So all the annoyance that it takes to teach kids is so also likewise rewarding. And, she's at this stage now, and you hate this, and you told me you hate this, and now I hate it. It's like the make-believe stage. Daddy, we went to a carnival the other day. Do you want to go to a carnival with me? Sure. Look, Daddy, there's a carnival here in the living room. Let's go. Okay, let's. The first like 6 to 10 times it's okay, but the 600 to 1,000 times it's not okay anymore. How many times can you see a carnival in your living room every day for like a month? And she wants you to play with her every day. And it's just like, you want to go crazy.
Yeah, the play part is my total joy and difficulty, because I do, like you, Brian, I love board games. I will play board games. I don't care what board game. It can be Candyland. It could be. We should
do that sometime then.
Carcassonne. It could be, yes, we should have a game day.
Yes.
And we love it. Like we love card games. We love Play 9. We love all of that. And John Paul's getting to the age where he's playing with Peter and I, which is awesome. And it's awesome. But then you have the other side where you're taking the little animals and you're, nay, just clunking along, and you have the little dinosaur comes in, and it's
Daddy, I'm a cat. Daddy, I'm a cat. You got to talk to me as a cat. And then she just says meow, meow for the next 20 minutes and expects me to know what to say, but that's what she wants to do.
That's right. And my daughter, who is verbally delayed, her make-believe has just, it's her greatest gift, is her ability to create and make believe. So I try to foster it, but at the same time, I'm like, oh my gosh, can I be done being a Pokemon now? Can I please be done?
It's not bad that you're a Pokemon. It's bad that you're a Pokemon for 100 straight days in a row, like 50 times a day. Exactly. But imagination is part of the learning process, and it's one of the crosses you just have to bear.
Just something you bear. Yes.
That's been one of my frustrations lately. I'm like, do we have to? She's like, Daddy, I'm Gabriella, blah, 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 blah. And she pretends to be the baby all day. And I'm like, okay.
Yes.
So, we could go on. There's so many joys to children. There's so many difficulties. But even the difficulties, if done right and with great patience, virtue, they turn and they bloom into even more greater joys. They bloom into great, that's what the cross is. It blooms into the resurrection. So even in our life with our kids and our spouse, if we do it right, and if we're loving and kind and patient and not just pushing them aside, saying, why do you always want to play that? Or why are you always doing this? And that destroys kids. It kills them. It cripples their futures, and it cripples their love and your relationship with them. So when we do it with great kindness and love, it actually fosters them, cultivates them, and turns them into human beings that are going to be successful and change the world in some way, make a difference in the world in some way in the future. So maybe we can have a part 2 on this in the future, but because I actually have to go, because I have a babysitter out there watching the kids, and she has to go. So thank you, Julie, for coming on and sharing some of your joys and challenges with us. And I hope this was helpful for everybody watching.
Thanks, Brian. I'm happy to be here again. This is great.
And thank you all for tuning in as well. Please pray for us. If you have any topics you guys would like us to cover, feel free to put them in the comments section below. Feel free to follow us on social media below as well for daily inspiration. And God bless you and your families.